Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Construction One-on-One with Ravi Bhatia. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My guest today is an iconic leader in the construction industry. She is forging a new path and serving as a role model for so many of us. Christella Xu. Christella, how are you?
Hi, good morning. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm doing wonderful. How are you this morning?
Doing well, and really fortunate to have you as a guest on this series. And we have so much to learn and so much to talk about. But in speaking with you, one thing that has really become apparent is that you are a global citizen. And I'd like you to explain what that journey has been like and how you have become a global citizen.
Sure. So my name is Christella. I was born in China, and I was 6 years old. My family moved to South Korea. My parents got a job offer in an LG company. From there, we stayed there for about 3 years, and my parents decided to send me to Germany to receive a better education, higher education. So when I was 10 years old, I went to live in Germany, stayed in Berlin, Frankfurt, Hamburg, and Munich. I mean, it was a fantastic experience. I went to an American school there. I did speak a little German back in the days, but not anymore. And from there, when I was 14, my family then moved to New York, and New York has been my home ever since. I finished my high school here. I finished my college at Fordham University with a finance major, matter of fact.
Plug for Fordham University. Great job.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I love the school. I love the professors. So from there, I sort of pursued a law career for another 7 years or so, gained a lot of experiences in the law environment as well as management skill sets. I would say that because of my diverse background, it really shaped me as who I am as a person today. I'm very adaptable in different environments when it comes to personal and business. I can definitely understand people better. I can work with people a lot better with different backgrounds in this business.
Wow, that's really well stated. Having a diverse background, understanding and embracing diversity while embracing this great city that we have, New York City. And I've been in New York a long time, and I always bet on New York because it's just such a wonderful place. And we are a global city, and we truly attract great people from all over the world. So from your viewpoint, from your experience in running your company, and we'll talk about your company, diversity, inclusion, how does that lead to a better future? And what is the responsibility of government, and what is the responsibility of the private sector to foster opportunities to provide more diversity and inclusion to lead to a more egalitarian future? I mean, that's a loaded question, but I think that you are very qualified to answer that.
Well, let's put it this way. So from my personal experience, I think the city of New York, like I mentioned before, did a wonderful job providing opportunities for the women-owned, the minority-owned businesses in a way that was unheard of before, unprecedented. For instance, a lot of the times that a company of my size never were offered the opportunity, let's say, to work with really large scale contractors or developers. It might take me years before I even have the opportunity to engage some sort of conversation with large GCs or clients. Well, the city's opportunity at this moment, it brings me in front of those large clients, and thankfully, those large clients and developers have programs now in place to provide trainings and mentorship for small businesses and women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses so that we can increase our capacity in order to work with them in a short and long term. Now, for me, I'm pretty fortunate in a way that, our team were fully on board. Even throughout COVID, we were offered the opportunities to learn from large GCs and developers. And during that time, We gained a lot of experiences, learned a lot, and we were able to thrive throughout COVID, as many other small businesses, women-owned, minority-owned businesses. So the city and the private sectors, I would say that they're working hand in hand together, and there are a lot of acknowledgement and appreciation also from the private sector to work with the city hand in hand in order to assist and help small businesses and women-owned businesses to grow in the short and long term. So I think that this is a very important topic, and as a lot of the new companies, private sectors are coming to New York to develop, they also recognize the importance that the city has for MWBEs, minority-owned, women-owned businesses, and I think they're doing a wonderful job implementing this across the board.
This is very encouraging, and it's encouraging because you're part of that narrative, an example how public and private sector can work together to grow the economic pie for everybody. And all we need is to plant a few seeds that result in great economic opportunity for all of us. And,
sure.
and I think that's great. And, we want to know more about your company. You've been doing some great things at Elite. Tell us about your company and how do you position Elite for success today? And what does that success look like tomorrow?
Sure. So my company's name is Elite Structural Builders and Management. We do the fabrication installation for structural steel and miscellaneous metals for commercial buildings and mixed-use buildings. So we work with a lot of core and shell, not necessarily a lot of interior fit outs. So this is crucial when I started with strategizing the business. I recognize that due to many factors in the economy and the COVID impact, I focused a lot initially on essential businesses because we all know that a lot of infrastructure and essential businesses, they will not stop. So I diversified my portfolio from early on to sustain the business at the same time, make sure the business also grow, slow and steady at the same time. Now that I'm looking at a lot of the private sectors reaching out to me because of our, established reputation and experiences. So now that I'm more focused on a lot more private development, while also working with the city agencies, as well as obtaining a lot of work when it comes to cities infrastructures as well. So again, although I'm diversifying the portfolio, but I'm more focused on the private sectors. And like I said, because that the private sectors have been really encouraging and participated with the diversity and inclusion program, working with the city of New York. So there are a lot of opportunities out there for companies like mine. So where I would see myself or the company in, I would say the 5 years, I'm definitely seeing it as one of the largest steel contractors in the city of New York and perhaps in Florida as well. I'm trying to set up another branch sector in West Palm Beach area to develop, as I have already developed some relationships with existing clients, and they are very happy with our work, and they wanted us to expand, not just within city of New York, but also nationally as well.
That's fantastic. Having a large view of the world of what you can become is really a process, and not everyone can get there because often we limit our success because we can't think big enough, or we don't have enough confidence, or maybe life has beaten us down and we don't want to, we just can't think of success, right? A lot of people get throttled by their own limitations that they're putting on themselves. How do you maintain a worldview despite facing challenges? How do you maintain that vision in an environment where sometimes people don't give you opportunity or you lose a bid? How do you deal with that?
Right. That's a very good question. So a lot of people ask me, so Christella, you have a diverse background, right? Why do you choose to do steel business, right? Why a steel company, right? So I would say that's a loaded question too, but sometimes I don't really know how to answer that because there's really no particular reason or reasons for me to choose certain path in my career or even personal development, right? I always followed a vision that I have. which is a freedom for myself and my family. So freedom for me is a constant and consistent feeling of a bliss, right? There is no preconceived notion or preset limitations, and there are no hidden agendas, or it doesn't discriminate. It just is, right? So I feel like because of that understanding, because of the vision I have, I never walked in a room feeling like there is a glass ceiling, or there are some sort of limitations, or there are people that I cannot speak to. There are hands that I could not shake, right? So I would say that, for either younger generations or whoever is struggling in this business, whether small business, minority owned, women owned business, make sure that you know what your vision is, what your dream is. Go after it. Make sure you know how to market yourself very well, and you know your own brand. Be confident and go crush it. There is no limitations. The limitation is only within yourself.
I mean, I have to let that sink in, because that's such a great message that, it's a message for all of us that, we go through life, we go to work. Sometimes even in school, we are limited because of just the structured way that the school system pushes us through. I think with your background, you've seen some alternative ways of education, and, often we're limited, or we're told you can't do something. And one of the things that I've learned is that when someone says you can't do something, I don't react in a negative way. I just file it away in my head and say, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, but that's not going to dissuade me from trying to be better. And I think as long as you have a larger vision of what you want to be, really, you are playing what Simon Sinek calls the infinite game. You're thinking way long term, whereas the rest of us are thinking short term. How do we make a quarterly profit? How do we win a project? And when you have that guiding vision, independence for yourself, really, that's independence not only financially, but independence of thought, independence to do what you want to do. You ended up in the steel business, but I have a feeling that no matter what business you got into, you were going to apply the same principle, right? It wouldn't matter.
Right. Thank you. So there is one thing that usually when I, have networking opportunities with, with some group of either friends or associates, and sometimes they talk about this glass ceiling, right? So I always make a joke. I said, okay, it's a glass ceiling. So look up and then look through the glass, right? There is no ceiling, right? So why don't you just break the glass and keep going up?
Right. You can't really see it because it's transparent, right?
Right.
So you just break through it. That's great.
Yes.
So the construction industry is such an interesting industry, and this is a very interesting time to be in the industry. It's changing rapidly. How do you view yourself as a change agent in construction, and what does that mean in terms of innovation and technology? What are you doing, or what do you foresee doing so that you could be at the forefront of change in construction?
Right. I think technology is key here, right? And also, I think in automated machinery, it's also key for my particular industry, right? So I'm blessed to have very skilled laborers, and they have years of experiences and within this industry. But I'm seeing that because of the labor shortage, as all the industry is facing right now, not to say that I'm, replacing human capital, but I think that the addition of automated systems to, let's say, facilitate the fabrication process for the steel, that, at the same time, being able to utilize certain softwares such as AutoCAD, Advanced Steel, or Beam, it would definitely expedite the engineering process, and added with the machinery that we just talked about, it can definitely also expedite the fabrication process as well. That's more of my business specific, but I feel like in general, technology is definitely something that we all need to explore because of how it is already advanced, how we interact with each other, and I think that a lot of the developers and builders right now, they would love for their buildings to go up last year, right? So having the appreciation that everything is almost in a one-stop shop to be able to streamline the entire business from engineering perspective, a fabrication, and also completion and closeout, it's something that's very attractive within this business. So for me, I feel like, just in summary, technology and automation is definitely something that's very important at this time.
You've hit some very interesting points. So you recognize, like a lot of people do, that technology is a process, and as we evolve and embrace technology and adapt new technologies, that it's not an overnight process, that you start blending the best of human capital with the best of the man-machine interface, and you try to optimize that while remaining competitive, while meeting the needs of your customers, while growing your business, and while staffing in an environment that is going to be very challenging over the next few years. We are facing shortages. At the same time, I think you are probably in a position to exploit some of the opportunities that are related to supply chain issues. So as you know, having worked for private sector owners, developers, and even in the public sector, it's the same kind of pressure. Everybody wants everything yesterday, right?
Right,
and when
right.
you deal with developers, time is money. So
right.
Do you have a preference working directly for an owner, a GC, a CM? Where do you, or do you see that you have the ability to adapt quickly and meet the needs? Because depending on where people are in the food chain in construction, they're going to have different contract methodology, different set of priorities. And also, as a supplier, if you're third or fourth in the tier, you get paid last. So time value of money and cash flow becomes important for you, right?
Absolutely,
Huge.
yes. Right.
Right. And now have you done work? Have you done a lot of work in the public sector?
Yeah, I wouldn't say a lot. I did some work with the SCA, School Construction Authority, and also did some work with the MTA. Actually, I have a few different kind of projects for subway stations, rehab. So it's been great experiences, and I feel like in the city definitely do a great job, paying subcontractors like us on time, which I really appreciate given the time value of money that we just discussed. So just to go back to what we just discussed a little bit about the clients and who are I would say, targeted audience, and also the turnaround times and expectations there. Depending on the project, it's really different kind of conversations, right? For me, my preference is really to speak to the owners, developers directly to have a conversation, because we do have our in-house engineering capacity. So we are able to design, build for owners and GCs. Well, I would say the projects in a smaller scale. I can't really build skyscrapers yet, but I'm working on that. So the initial conversation is important because we want to get involved, understand, the concept and preference of the client. And from there, we're able to have our architect and engineers create this plan for our clients. And what's the great thing is not only we have this is steel capacity, the core and shell, we are also able to perform a GC in a GC capacity. I would say that, it brings a different kind of value to the owner, because knowing the structural components of a certain building definitely helps the owner to value engineer and to save cost initially. So that's something that's very attractive for a lot of the smaller contractors and clients for us to work with. And also for large contractors, GCs, names I'm not going to mention this on this Zoom, they are very reasonable, I would say, at least with me, when it comes to supply and demand. We always try to order a lot of the steel and the necessary supplies in bulk in advance, because we do have storage areas, so that we're always prepared for any, let's say, emergency work or any work that needs to be performed immediately, or when the projects start kicking off, maybe in a short period of time. Like you said, they wanted projects to be done yesterday. So we're always prepared to be there for the client. And I think that's one of the competitive advantage that our company has. So we're always prepared, knowing that there is a supply shortage in the business at the moment.
Wow. So what you've just explained is that while you are in the construction business, really you're in the business of solving business problems for the customer. You're in the solutions business. And it's something that we talk a lot about in the industry. I speak with our students at Fordham about this, that no matter what your role is on a project or in a project organization, that ultimately the owner has their financial, economic commitments, they have their commitments, and you have to solve or help the owner solve problems. Really, that's what you're doing. And that problem could be financial, could be a physical problem, could be a logistics problem. So how deeply do you get involved in your projects? And do you sense that sometimes you're too deeply involved, or do you have project managers that go out there and you oversee them? What does that look like? And what does your typical day look like?
Sure. I think as much as I want to get involved, everybody want me to stay off. I could be very demanding, but no, we work collaboratively. A lot of times I have a lot of FaceTime with the clients and to better understand their needs and wants. But I do oversee our day-to-day operation as well. So I would say that, I'm a morning person. I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I get my gym out of the way. I then check some emails for like an hour or so. I make sure that, all the projects is on point and to distribute and delegate all the different tasks to our project managers. And so from there, I'm really just out and about, making sure that meeting with clients, making sure that, like I said, their needs are being met, and then manage their expectations as well. From there, I'm back in the office or I'm on the phone with my team, making sure that this communication is streamlined from the client directly to our team so that we can solve issues and identify any problems or upcoming matters, progress-wise, immediately, so that the clients, expectations are met, and we always deliver our project, if not on time, but always early as a result. And I'd like to get involved more often, just because I think that it's important to have that FaceTime with the client, because each client, it's important. I don't discriminate based on the project size. Every project is important for us. And I think that my business partner and our key shareholders, individuals, we all make sure that there is a streamlined communication from the client to us, and also all the way down to our administrative assistant. So everyone knows the project in real time. I think that is the key to our success as well.
That's a great message to your customers and to your employees. Over the last couple of years, I've been discussing with various people in the industry about the difference between work-life balance, which I think is sort of a misnomer. I'm starting to move towards life energy balance. So sometimes you're energetic and you get a lot of work done, and other times you just need to take a break, because the idea of quantifying work-life balance is different for different people depending on what your goals are, right? It also depends on your ability. One thing I've noticed about how the human brain works is that I could be doing the same thing for 8 or 10 hours and be completely exhausted mentally. But if I go do something else completely different, all of a sudden I'm energized, right? So that means that I'm not really physically tired. What I'm doing is I've exhausted my brain's capacity to do that one task, and I need to go do something else. So as we learn more about how the mind works, and this especially applies to entrepreneurs such as yourself, that life energy balance is really the key. And that's why it's important to, I think, exercise your mind as well as your body, and you're increasing your energy level, right? So what's your thought on that?
So it's interesting, a lot of times people are like, Christella, you just stop working. You have been working for, the past 24 hours. How did you manage this? I think for me, the short breaks doesn't really work well. I'm very focused when I'm on a certain task. And I think for me, it's more of a traveling. It's sort of my escape, my rest, right? So I make sure that every other week I would take a destination and I will go and travel and explore different culture. So I just came back actually from Amman, Jordan. This
Oh,
is
wow.
actually the first Middle Eastern country I've ever visited, and it was fascinating. So yeah. So let's say if I were to put in all my effort in 2 weeks, and I will make sure that the third week I would take 3 to 4 days to travel somewhere, and I think that's my balance, work and life balance. But for me, at the same time, because I love what I do, so I wake up knowing that I'm crushing the day and I'm excited and the energy just keeps me going. So, generally speaking, that's what also Simon Sinek was saying, right? It's not about what you do, it's why you do it. And I think I can definitely identify with what he's saying. And, I love what I do. So it's easy for me, I would say.
Wow, you've clearly identified your why. And as Cynic says, a lot of people, it takes time, but eventually, if we're fortunate, we are honest with ourselves, and why we do certain things and why we exist here to, I believe, add value to
Right.
the universe and add value in any way we can. A lot of because of your diverse background, I think you understand that focusing on doing a great job and following the process is a much happier existence than just focusing on some short-term reward, because the reward, as Simon Sinek says, is a result, right?
Right.
The reward is just a result, and it's a measuring stick or whatever, however people choose to measure success. But really, success for you looks like it's a journey. But how do you define, or have you defined, what a successful project looks like?
Yeah. So I would say that seeing the clients happy and smiling is, after we close out the contract is
I got to write that
definitely,
down. Smiley face clients. Well, that's all you need to know.
yes, yes, a happy customer is really a true definition for our success.
Right. But that's not
I
easy. It's not easy to do that, right?
it's not easy, but I think that, for us as a team, our entire company, we really take pride of what we do. And by the end of the day, it's not, how tall the buildings we've built or the weight of the steel we erected, right? Or the length of the metal we fabricated. It really is, when we see the client is really happy and giving
Mhm.
us repeating work, that is our definition of success for our business.
That is very well put. Many years ago, I had a boss who was French, and he taught me that you could manage your project in a perfect way. You could meet cost, budget, safety, schedule, everything. But if you didn't manage the customer's expectation, that is
Mhm.
not a successful project. Or if you burned out your team, that's not a successful project because you can't
Right,
replicate that. And I think managing
right.
expectations is so important. I see that you want to build good relationships with your customers. How do you build great relationships with your customers, existing ones and new ones?
Well, for existing customers, and I think we sort of mentioned that from earlier topics, is really an open line of communication. One of the things that I always tell the clients, whether it's when I first meet with them or existing clients, our phone's on 24/7, right? I am not saying that I'm going to exhaust my employees that way. Absolutely not, but for I think that message is really important. And I don't think the clients are ever, calling us 24/7. But
Right.
the idea here is to be available for them to answer their questions and concerns. After all, it is their investment, and a lot of the their money and investments at stake. So being able to stand with them and walk with them instead of walking behind them, I think it's the key here. um, when you're walking with them, right, not literally, I guess,
Right.
you
But
have
you
another
partner.
level of appreciation for what's at stake, so that sense of being time sensitive, the immediate response that they required, or the emergency work that they might needed the following day. They really appreciate that, especially for existing customers. And I think for new customers also, it's very rare for a lot of the subcontractors actually are able to not only say what they can, but also deliver in a way that expected. So words mean a lot, right? So in this business, I think that whatever that we are telling the customers, we always deliver. And if we can't, we will also, very honest with the customer and tell them as well. I think that's what they also appreciate. So communication is definitely key. Right.
Communication and walking with the customer. Often business school doesn't teach that, right? We learn that from experience, but really it's very practical. You walk with the customer, you're honest, you're open, you communicate, and also when to say no to a customer and say, hey, I can't do it for that price. And if great if you can do it with somebody else, but we can't do that for that price. And I think that's important too, because and I think in the long run, gives you the opportunity to build a better customer base. Not all customers are created equal, although you said that you treat all your customers with great respect. But there are some customers that eventually will lead to a better relationship. So that's something that you have to balance. In closing, I'd like you to provide a message for young people out there, people that are entering the industry, that are looking to advance in our great industry, in real estate and construction. What message do you have for them?
I would say the key here is recognize that you're your own brand. Really learn how to market yourself very well and be confident and go crush it. You can do anything.
Wow, that's really a terrific message. It's been great having you on Construction One-on-One. Thank you for sharing your insights, and we will continue to track your trajectory as you continue to lead our industry in this city, in Florida, and perhaps even nationally. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.